Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Renz, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I will be your hostess tonight. Thank you for being with us tonight as we commemorate National Transgender HIV Testing Day. Through our live stream panel discussion, we hope to highlight the importance of HIV testing in our beloved community. But before we jump into discussion, we wanted to share a little bit about our panelists through their testimony. A series of digital stories aim to highlight the transformative power of HIV testing in our community. And folks, I want to take this opportunity to recognize this group of amazing human beings who I had the pleasure of working with in the creation of their story. The past few weeks leading to this day has been quite a journey for them, one that is definitely filled with empowerment. We were tapping into our beloved community in search for these leaders. Under these unprecedented times, these are leaders in their own right who were formed by all the experiences and wisdom life has to offer, and all brought together today by a single act of self-love empowered through knowing their HIV status. So, to kick off our panel discussion for this evening, I present to you our panelists and their testimony, starting with Tanya Jimenez.
Hola a todos, mi nombre es Tania Jiménez y yo soy una orgullosa mujer translatina aquí en San Francisco, California. Yo uso el pronombre de ella y actualmente soy coordinadora de programas aquí en ERA para translatinas. He trabajado en el campo de la salud pública por casi 2 años y continúo ayudando a mi comunidad para apoyar a las translatinas. Más de 300 personas transgénero y género diversa alrededor del mundo han sido asesinadas en el 2019. Este incremento en los números significa que debemos de venir juntos como comunidad hoy más que nunca. Yo hago mi trabajo con mucha pasión porque quiero enseñarles a las personas cómo usar sus voces y pelear por lo que ellas merecen. Una manera de tomar control de su vida es conocer su estado de VIH. Hay muchas personas que tienen miedo de realizarse la prueba de VIH y yo quiero que ellas sepan que eso no va a cambiar sus vidas. Cuando usted se hace la prueba de VIH, usted está en control de su vida. Usted se sentirá empoderado o empoderada y le dará la fuerza que usted necesita para vivir una vida saludable. Conocer mi estado de VIH ha sido importante para mí porque yo cuido mi salud. Yo me realizo una prueba de VIH cada 3 meses como los doctores me recomiendan y algunas veces me hago las pruebas aún más frecuentes. Les voy a contar un poco más sobre mi historia. Yo salí a trabajar en Mission Neighborhood Resource Center y a la vez era participante en ELA para Translatina. Me encantaba apoyar como una mujer translatina. Cuando yo me realicé la prueba de VIH en ELA, me interesé en convertirme en una consejera de VIH y le pregunté que si yo podía convertirme en una. Y comencé ese trabajo voluntario en ELA. Después me convertí en parte del staff y ahora, orgullosamente, lo puedo decir, soy la coordinadora de programas y consejera de HIV en ELA para Translatina. En alguna medida, yo no estaría aquí hoy si yo no me hubiera realizado esa prueba ese día. Sin duda alguna, cambió mi vida para bien. Conocer mi estado es importante para mí y debería ser importante para usted también. El Día Nacional Transgénero de la Prueba de VIH es importante para nuestra comunidad. Unámonos y démonos el apoyo y el coraje como comunidad para conocer nuestro estado. Gracias.
Thank you for that, Tanya. And next up on our list, and gracing our evening with her presence as well in the panel discussion tonight, we have JC Marcella. And here is her in a more personal level.
Mabuhay! My name is JC Marcella, and I am a transgender woman. I use the pronouns she, her, hers. I moved from the Philippines with my mom when I was 21. Leaving my family was not easy, but being an immigrant had made me a stronger and more resilient person. From not knowing anyone at all, I found and started to build a few but meaningful relationships. I found new friends, people who inspired me, and a couple of heartbreaks that carried a valuable life lessons. The heartbreaks make me realize that I wasn't making my safety a top priority. I wasn't making a conscious effort in taking care of my well-being. I have been tested for HIV, but not very often. I consider getting tested consistently so I can be aware of my HIV status. It is from the same broken relationships that I started to connect with myself. It was this newfound self-awareness that gave way for a lot of blessings to enter my life. By making safer decisions and putting myself first, I started thinking long-term. In focusing on my future, I eventually got used to a healthier lifestyle. It became such an important factor in my life that I wanted to help other people that they were going through a similar story. I ended up volunteering for UCSF Alliance Health Project, and who would have known that was going to be a beginning of a promising chapter of my life. My involvement showed my passion, capabilities, and now I am working full-time as their phlebotomist. More than ever, I feel the difference that I'm making in my community. With a supportive team behind my back, I feel that I'm truly living out of my values for a cause that is also very close to my heart. One of my biggest fears has always been being honest with myself and trying to make sense of the experiences that I have. Life can be overwhelming and it can be difficult to know who you can trust. But I only had to get an HIV test to trust my own decision. Knowing my status marked the time where I finally took ownership of my new healthy life that I deserve. From then on, only good things followed. And so, I want to ask you, my community, why not make a decision and get tested today?
Thank you, JC. And that was our second panelist on a very personal level. Last, but certainly not the least, we also have Keanu Baxter. So let's take a moment to get to know them better.
My name is Keanu Baxter. My pronouns are they and them. I'm half black and half white. I'm 24 years old and currently hold a position as a health educator at the Public Health Institute. I've been working there for 2 years, as well as a long experience of volunteering with the community. It took me a really long time to get stable in the Bay Area, and with trying to survive came sex work and substance abuse with it. In that time, accessing things like healthcare, getting HIV tested, and PrEP, let alone sometimes getting a condom, was difficult. And in the sex working industry, if you use a condom, it means you don't make as much money. I didn't think my situation could get any worse, but it did. And I found myself getting caught in legal problems. I wasted about 1 year of my life dealing with it. And that's when I realized I was pretty much at rock bottom. At this time, I remember telling myself over and over again that I was tired of being tired and tired of fighting for the bare minimum. I decided to enter Walden House, where I spent a couple of months trying to find myself. And eventually, I learned to appreciate who I am. At that point, I finally got self-motivated to navigate medical and mental health care resources that I wasn't able to navigate before. I was able to get HIV tested, and I made it a part of my regular routine. It didn't stop there either. Slowly, I started finding myself within a circle of queer people of color that were positive and healthy for me to be around. I could tell that I was making healthy relationships. Through this healthy network of queer people of color and professionals, and my experience with navigating the system as a queer person of color myself, I felt that I was truly gifted the opportunity to work for the Public Health Institute. And now I get to help other folks going through some of the same struggles that I went through and impart knowledge and some of the skill that I gained navigating these things to people from my community so that they may have some hope. HIV testing, to me, is a way to keep myself healthy and also empower myself in navigating through life's ups and downs in the safest and most respectable way possible. Knowing what my status is, along with a deep understanding that being light-skinned comes with a privilege, instills a sense of duty for me to fight and speak out for Black trans women and Black and brown queer folks who come to PHI on a daily basis. They are the ones who are heavily impacted by the lack of access and discrimination in today's healthcare complex. Even though there are barriers that we, people of color, and folks with a lesser socioeconomic background continue to face up to date, HIV testing continues to be out there, and I hope to share its accessibility despite how difficult the world makes health and meeting our basic needs out to be.
Enjoy those digital stories. We are excited to start our panel discussion that we're cooking up for you. And before that, let me just say grace and extend our deepest appreciation to all of our community partners who have elevated this day. Here's a shout out to our friends from Transform SF Collaborative, Trans Thrive, Ella para Translatinas, Instituto Familiar de la Raza, San Francisco AIDS Foundation, Strut, UCSF Alliance Health Project, Gender Health SF, Lyric, Center for LGBTQ Youth, APINC, and to cap it all off, we will be presenting another digital story prepared by our friends from SF team to accompany us in our commemoration for National Transgender HIV Testing Day. Back in 2017, San Francisco Community Health Center launched a program called San Francisco Transgender Empowerment Advocacy Mentorship Program, or SF Team for short. It is a leadership program that is designed for the transgender community. Its goal is to develop, nurture, support, and sustain leadership potentials within the transgender community of the San Francisco and the Bay Area. SF Team as a program's name was adopted from a former community initiative formed by a group of trans activists in San Francisco to further enhance leadership in the trans community in the early 2000s. What sets SF Team differently from other programs in the city is its primary goal is to harness a new generation of trans leaders with the skills and strategic perspectives to effectively confront, challenge, and change the ever-changing progressive social environment, and to better meet the needs of trans San Franciscans. One of the projects SF Team took lead on was a digital story project. Taking the advantage of effectiveness of storytelling, the program recruited 7 trans and GNC community leaders to develop and produce their own digital stories around being trans. Wellness and how to deal with the violence and disparities they faced every day was also one of the things that they focused on. For this presentation of National Transgender HIV Testing Day, SF Team is proud to present 2 of their digital stories, from the first one being by Jas Marie, an African-American trans woman who has struggled in many facets of life. Jasmine's message is her story to be a reminder to everyone that even though our lives are faced with struggles, challenges, and how we are all likely to be at risk for violence and negativity thrown to us, that we need to learn to love ourselves and get a sense of our own strength as human. We all fail. Look deep within. We have the power to take charge of our own life. Let's take a look at Jas Marie's story.
Transitioning while grieving the loss of my mom, who was my everything, was not easy. I was lost, confused, broken, with no one to trust, no one to turn to, with no support. I wasn't living in my depression. I was just existing. Drugs, dangerous sex, alcohol, sleeping in hotels, or other random places where I didn't have money for a hotel. I was in and out of cars more than I could remember, leaving a piece of me in every passenger seat. I was worthless, an abomination. I didn't matter to the world. I didn't matter to me. I lost me. I remember walking down the empty, cold streets, asking, who am I? What am I doing? Why am I out here in these streets playing Russian roulette with my life? Looking around my trans community, there was a lack of hope. No role models, no leaders, just a lot of people telling me how I could make a quick buck or two. One day, it hit me. The whole time I was out there searching for love and validation from friends, from drugs, from men. I didn't need their opinion. All I needed was me. Self-love. I deserved a chance at this thing called life. Rising like the phoenix, I got involved and invested in the community. My journey was often lonely and full of potholes and detours. Without it, I wouldn't be the resilient goddess, the masterpiece in progress that greets me in the mirror every morning. Still, I wish that I could have embraced these truths sooner. We are all human. We deserve to just simply be. We are loved. Maybe my story helps the next lost girl get there faster. A wise queen once said, if you can't love yourself, how the hell you gonna love anyone else? Can I get an amen?
Thank you for sharing your story. We will be sharing the second story or the video that we have prepared after the panel discussion. So now let's all start with the panel discussion itself that we have named Dish It, where we will be serving fresh off the community leaders talking about the hottest and latest topics in areas of their expertise. And again, we want to emphasize how our own life experiences factor in our own becoming of a leader. Speaking of leaders, I would like to call on now our moderator for tonight's panel discussion. With over 10 years of solid dedication and experience working constantly on empowering the transgender community and leading a wonderful team that represents that very same group of empowered individuals. Program Manager of Trans Thrive. Please give it up for Nico Cowell.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Rents. I'm Nico Cowell, he, him pronouns. I'm the program manager of Trans Thrive, which is our trans services department at the San Francisco Community Health Center. And I'm really excited to be your moderator tonight for the National Trans HIV Testing Day.
All right. Thank you for that introduction, Nico. And without further ado, it is my pleasure to open the very first of its series live on National Transgender HIV Testing. With their experience navigating through the healthcare system and how an HIV test transformed their outlook on life, health, and relationships, here are our panelists and moderator for this evening, who are all ready to dish it.
All right, hello everybody. Again, I'm Nico Cowell, program manager of trans services at the San Francisco Community Health Center. I'm here to moderate the panel for you tonight. So I'm really excited. This is a really important day. As a trans person, as somebody who's sexually active, I think, taking control of your sexual health is really important. And I'm really excited to have a really great panel of folks to talk to you about their experiences and their truths tonight. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the panel. I'm going to ask you to say your names, pronouns, where you work, and why are you passionate about the work that you do. So Tanya, how about we start with you?
Hello, everyone. My name is Tanya Jimenez, and I'm the program coordinator for ELA para Trans Latina. My pronouns are she and her. And I'm very passionate about my work that I do because I love to work with the community, especially all my trans Latinas, and I like to keep them informed. And that's one of the reasons that I'm really, really passionate about my job. Thanks, Nico, and thanks San Francisco Community Health Center for having us here.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Keanu, same questions. Name, pronouns, where do you work, and why are you passionate about the work that you do?
Hi, everybody. My name is Keanu Baxter. My pronouns are they and them. I'm 24, and I'm passionate about the work that I do. To just see smiles on young people's faces, especially trans people of color, to use the privilege that I have, that other folks don't have, to enlift and enlighten them on a daily basis, and also share resources and access.
Wonderful. Thanks for being here, Keanu.
Thank you.
JC, name, pronouns, where you work, and tell me why you're passionate about the work that you do.
Well, thank you, Nico. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is JC Marcella. I use the pronoun she, her, hers. I work for UCSF Alliance Health Project here in San Francisco. One thing that I'm more passionate about is I was have that opportunity to help the community, to connect with the community, to overcome their fear of getting tested. Because I am a living example of having that fear of getting tested, and it became a healthy routine for me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being here, JC. And I'm also really excited to announce that we have a last minute panelist joining us, Janelle from Compton's Transgender Cultural District. So Janelle, same questions for you. Name, pronouns, where do you work, and why are you passionate about the work that you do?
Hi, Nico. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. My name is Janelle Luster, also known as Janelle Vincent. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. The district actually went under a name change, so we are now known as simply the Transgender District. And I am passionate about the work that I am doing, specifically because growing up, I didn't know about community, or I didn't know where to access community. And now being in this space where I know where community is, I always want to make sure that I do my part and making sure that we continue to create spaces that are for us and by us, and also create resources that are for us. I think that it takes for us to do that. And so I'm just happy to be involved.
Great, thanks so much for joining us. So with that, we're going to jump into some deeper questions. Just so everybody knows, there is going to be a Q&A at the end. So if you have questions, you can feel free to type them into the Facebook feed. We might not be able to get to all of them, but we'll try to get to as many of them as possible. So all of you just kind of talked about why you're passionate about the work that you do, but how did you get started in this work? Like what was your gateway into doing this sort of work, and what has it been like from going from maybe like a volunteer to actually working for the community in a paid position?
Well, for me, it was really easy. It was really easy for me. It wasn't too bad. I started as a volunteer. I started as a doing volunteer at El Aparatos Latina. As I was working at Mission Research Center at first, and I was there for about 6 months. So I started working there, and then I heard about El Aparatos Latina. So I started going to El Aparatos Latina, and I started involving because I really love El Aparatos Latina, and I like everything what they do for the community. So I started doing volunteer work. I started helping in the kitchen. I was helping with reach outreach with the person who was doing outreach in there. So I was doing some outreach, and I was helping on the program, and I was just getting involved, and I just really love it. And I asked, and then one day I had my testing done in there, and I asked somebody, how could I become a counselor, like an HIV counselor? So they tell me that I had to go to this program, to these classes for about a week, and I start going into the classes, and then I keep more involved into El Aparatos Latina. And now I'm a program coordinator at El Aparatos Latina, and I'm also an HIV counselor. And I'm really proud because it's been really quick, it's been really easy, and I just love it, and I'm excited, to help the community, and I love the work we do. So that's my a little bit of volunteer work that I do. So thank you. And I'm still helping Mission Resource Center ladies night Thursday. So I'm still doing some volunteer work, and I also go help like on Christmas to serve dinners for the homeless community. And I also keep involving on the community works and volunteer, because I know it's really, really important to keep helping out.
Thank you for that.
I guess I can answer that question. I think for me, getting into initially doing the volunteer work, so to rewind, I was diagnosed HIV positive in 2012, March 3rd, actually. And so I initially started doing advocacy work with the AIDS Healthcare Foundation under the leadership of Jesse Brooks. He led the Bay Area chapter of their advocacy. And so they did a lot of things with like changing like laws and stuff around medication and all of those things. And so I was initially starting and doing that. And then I started going to this wonderful organization called World as a client. I was just there as a client. And as I was going there, there was no representation of trans folks there, trans femme or trans masculine, non-binary, anything. And so I was going to the group. World was an organization, or is an organization for women, and they're inclusive of trans women, but it wasn't reflecting in their programming. And so as I was going there as a client for a while, they offered me a position and was like, hey, you know, we love the way that you're advocating for there to be a peer advocate for trans women as well. How about you be that peer advocate? And initially it was really scary, you know, transitioning from doing sex work and doing hair and stuff like that, and being pushed into doing advocacy work. It wasn't something that I thought that I would be doing. I always wanted to be connected to community, but I didn't know what that meant. I really just wanted to have a kiki session where I knew the girls, I knew all the kids, and we can get together and we can have a good time. But it really wasn't about like really changing something. And so once I started working at World, like the girls would just come through. And so then it really ignited something in me, like, wow, like, how can I be a part of creating spaces like this? Because there are other trans folks like me who did not have access to community growing up. And so how can I create these spaces for trans people to come together and network and really have a space? And so it's been really great. And so I too am an HIV test counselor, and I did all of these different trainings and stuff around HIV, and it was really rewarding being able to sit on the other side of the desk. When I was first diagnosed, I knew about HIV or whatever, but I didn't know about HIV. It was more so something culturally that growing up, when you were classified as the fast child or whatever, they're like, oh, you know, you're going to catch something, be careful. But we never really had the talks about HIV and stuff in the community. And so getting into the work, I definitely learned a lot more. And I also learned how to advocate for people better, and getting people to get tested and to take their medicine.
Thank you for that, Janelle.
Yeah, I kind of similar story of what Janelle said. I used to access all of these services that I'm now so much a part of. And I used to access them so heavily that when you're going to these places every single day, places like Larkin and Lyric and the SF-LGBT Center, those are great places, but sometimes they're not as competent as to certain individual situations. And knowing that like what I needed wasn't always there all the time, I wanted to kind of like change those things and like be a part of those things so that I can implement things that I didn't have accessing those types of resources, especially diversity. I feel like places I used to volunteer at the Castro Country Club, and it's mostly white and gay, and I wanted to let other people know that wanted to get their lives together and wanted to get a sense of community that they can also access these spaces. Before I worked for the Public Health Institute, I was actually part of one of the project that I work on now. So I went there to be a part of this project and answer a couple of survey questions and get paid so I could eat that day. And I guess the way that I answered these questions and the way that these the woman that was giving me the survey saw how dedicated I was to being there for the community, she offered me a job, and it kind of like gave me more of like a fighting spirit to me, because now that I know these people see that I have the drive, I just need to follow through with it and be able to help folks.
Thank you, Keanu.
All right, so I'm a regular tester for USF Alansal project for HIV testing, and how I see their mission and how I see their goal, they really inspire me to volunteer, right? And because growing up in the Philippines, I grew up like we do helping, like we do like more helping other people. So that's how I started volunteering, and then they see a potential in me, and then guess what? I become an employee for them. And the one thing that really give me that information, value of being an employee, because it gives me accountability for my testing, and also representing me, or representing my my agency, what we do for the community, for the LGBTQ. Thank you.
Thank you, JC, and
You're welcome, Nico.
So just shifting gears a little bit to talk specifically about HIV testing, I'm curious, what do you all feel about your culture makes it difficult to get tested for HIV? But on the flip side, what do you feel like, what about your culture or ethnicity has actually made you more resilient and be able to manage the obstacles and barriers as a trans and gender nonconforming person of color? JC, you want to go?
All right, Nico, because I grew up in a country like in the Philippines, like 90% are Catholics. So talking about sex or talking about HIV is like really sensitive for us. So the sensitivity that give me, we never thought we're having that difficulty of talking about HIV, getting tested and stuff. So the one thing that I could say, Filipinos are very resilient. So in a way, like in the Philippines, we get a fatal storm, fatal earthquake that gives us more like become more stronger to any problems that we encounter. Like we don't stop there. So once we get up, we move forward, and then we look for a brighter future, or more like what will be the next step, kind of thing. So yeah.
Thank you, JC. Other panelists?
I'm agree with JC because I might. Oh, I'm sorry. They mute me in here. Okay, I got it now. I think I'm agree with JC because I think Filipinos and also Latin America, they're kind of the same. Like we have kind of the same culture and everything. So for us, it's kind of the same situation. They're very sensitive with HIV, with prostitution and all this stuff. It's kind of hard in our country because I know you get stigmatized by, if you are gay, if you are transgender, they already think you already, if you're gay, if you're transgender, and you get sick in your country, they already think you already have HIV. So it's kind of difficult, and especially to get tested up there. We don't have the same facilities that we have here. In a Latin American, it's very, very tough to get HIV tested and everything, especially the medication is too expensive. So yeah, kind of we have the same situation as JC has in the Philippines, but we're getting there. I hope everything gets better. I hope everything changes, and they don't see it that way they see it right now. Because even we're in 2020, they're still like they need more education because they still think they're still stigmatized. We're still getting the problem. So I think it is kind of tough on our Latin American countries. Like being trans and have and how to get HIV testing and all this stuff. So I'm not okay with the Filipinas. We kind of, that's what we were talking. We're getting along because we have the same situation as a transgender, the way we suffer.
Thank you. So I know that as trans people, we have a hard time finding competent providers. When you're looking for a provider to stay healthy, what are you looking for in that person? What can they do to support you, not just in your like regular life, but within your sexual health life?
Yeah, this is something that like I struggled with a lot before moving to San Francisco or the Bay Area. They're a little bit more competent out here, but when you're like younger and like very sexually active, and you're going to these like normal doctors, or you're going to these like Dr. John over here at wherever, the things that I always lacked, and I never really wanted to go to doctors because I felt that I was being judged the entire time I was like telling them my sexual history or my like how active I was, or like even when it comes to like mental health, I didn't really know I could access competent doctors and mental health care providers growing up. We just kind of had to like suck it up and deal with it, and now, so because of that, I didn't know what competency was. I just felt like there was something missing. And now looking at like little competent doctors and healthcare providers and stuff like that, you kind of grasp things from each person. And like in my opinion, things like having trans people work in those fields is the biggest thing. Having trans and non-binary people of color work in those fields, and having, if not that, having someone competent. And I think there should be like specific trainings for those people when they have clients, or when they have people that that are trans, non-binary, gay, lesbian, whatever it is, the whole spectrum. I think that there should be training on how to talk to us and how to uplift us at the same time, because I think it's important when you're going to these spaces for like doctors and and getting tested, especially like there's like a nervousness that comes around, and it's kind of like JC was saying, like there, or Tanya, I'm sorry, like there's a stigmatism already, and because of that, you're kind of afraid to say everything that you're concerned about, or you're kind of afraid to let them know everything that's going on. And I think that like just like trainings and having people of the community work in these positions, giving people access to more, like giving those medical providers access to more trans people and more people of color, letting them see that how diverse things can be and how each person is not the same as the next person, I think is something that I look for in a provider. I guess so. Yeah, to wrap it up, I guess it's just like competency and being of the community.
Thank you for that.
I would agree. I think competency is one thing. I also look for someone that I feel like I can connect with. So oftentimes I have like shopped around doctors. So like when I first got, into the nonprofit, you get all these insurance and stuff. So I think I like tried out like 3 or 4 different doctors within Kaiser just to see who I felt like I had a great fit for. Also, I'd be wanting to have a doctor who I feel listens to what my needs are. Lots of times it seems like the doctors have like their own agenda, especially like being a trans person. And so like for me going in there about HIV and stuff like that, it seems like sometimes the doctors be just hyper focused on one thing rather than all areas of life. And so if I don't really feel like I can talk to you about all areas of my life, but I can only talk to you about this HIV thing, then you're not a good fit for me, because then it doesn't seem like you're really trying to be a part of my health team. So that's one of the things that I look for.
Thank you, Janelle. Anybody else before I move on?
And I'm agreeing too, because like she was saying, being transgender is not easy. Being transgender is very difficult, and find your doctors, it could be hard, and it could be harder if you're transgender and you don't speak the language. If you don't have a doctor who could understand you, who could speak the same language, it's even harder. It's even harder to find the person. So and the way they treat us, because not because so a lot of here in San Francisco, what I learned, we had everything, and they treat us with respect, with dignity, the way we deserve. But in other states, another city, like I was coming from North Carolina, like if they see your name, if you don't have your name changed and they see you, like you look like a woman, but your name is, they call you like, like they don't care. They just call that your legal name is there. They don't call you by your last name. They just call you by your name, and they don't care, and we get embarrassed. So it's kind of hard. I think we need people who could get better training and all this, or medicals, they need to get better training, and have more doctors that speak our language, that speak Spanish, because it's hard to understand. It's hard to talk to someone in English, and it's even harder if you're transgender. How could they can understand? So I think I'm agree with it too. We need better service also.
Thank you, Tanya. JC, I know you had something to say as well.
Put all those answers from them. Like I just want to say, like, we have options. As a person, we have options. So the 3 things that we should always think about is like the balance of the professionalism of the person, of your doctor, also the personal relationship. If they are gonna acknowledge you as a transgender woman, your pronoun is really important, your gender, and also the technical side is how knowledgeable they are to accommodate your concern and being empathic and being compassionate. I think those are really important key things to think about or remember. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
JC, you're a phlebotomist, correct? See, like that's the type of services like I want. I want to go into a doctor's office and see Black and brown people running the whole thing. I want to walk into a doctor's office and see queer people of the community like running it. I want someone that's taking my blood to know, to understand and be competent. I want someone that's scheduling my appointment to know and understand and be competent. I think that's a big part too. So yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm kind of curious, what finally made you all go get tested for HIV? Like, what was the moment where you were like, okay, maybe I've been thinking about this for a while, or I had a high risk encounter? What was sort of the turning point in which you decided to prioritize that in your life?
Hi. So for me, I actually did not go in for testing. And I think that story happens a lot. You know, you don't go in for that and that's what you find out. So I was actually embarking on my medical transition. And so I had started going and they were telling me about how the hormones would make me feel differently. I would be tired and fatigued and all of these things. And a young trans girl as myself was ordering hormones off of the websites and all of these things. And I was putting creams and all of this on. And so for a couple of months, I was really tired. I didn't really have motivation to do anything. And they were like, the hormones shouldn't be doing all that. So they were like, when was the last time you got tested for HIV? And I was like, hey, I got tested when I first started coming to this clinic. You know, a lot of the clinics, that is a part of their protocol. When you're signing up, you have to do all of these different things. And so I'm like, well, I got tested like 4 or 5 months ago. And I didn't necessarily get my results. So they tested me again. And so I was actually in there for just routine stuff, as far as hormones and all of those type of things. But I wasn't really feeling well. I didn't really feel sick, but it was something that was hard to explain. And so then they ran an HIV test. And so, yeah, I was positive.
Thank you for that, Janelle.
For me, it was like the same as her. I wasn't going for a test. I was just going to Ella like and every single day, you know, I was just going to the program and just have fun with the girls. But then I saw that they were doing testing. So I said, well, why not? You know, I was kind of scared because to be honest, I never had a HIV test done before. In North Carolina, we don't really have that kind of services. So you don't have nowhere to go. So it was my first time having an HIV test. And I was scared. I didn't want to do it because like, you know, I was thinking like, oh my God, what they're gonna say? What about if it's positive? Because I never had it done it before. But I did it the thing. It was Jerez was there and it feels good. Like I said, I wasn't planning to, and I did it because I said, well, why not? Just good to know, you know, to know your status. So I decided to do it, and I'm glad I did because I changed my life. So I'm happy that I did the test today because now I'm here with you guys. So
thank you, Tanya.
Thank you.
Okay. Being very young and starting off really young in the sex working community and industry, you kind of get like, it's kind of like what I said in my story, like if you want to eat and survive that night and you want that hotel room for that night, you want to make the most money you can, and that comes with like usually not using a condom, unfortunately. And when you get used to kind of like living like that, you just kind of stuff those things in the back of your head, like oh, you know, like if anything comes up, like I'll just go to the doctor. Like if you know you're kind of used to that mentality of like not keeping those things, not keeping your health to the forefront, because all you're trying to do is survive, right? And as you're surviving, you kind of forget that your health is important to surviving and like staying alive. And the first time that I got tested, I was, I think I was at Larkin Street Youth Services, because I'm in the TAY age group or whatever, and I would go there just to like eat my meals and like wash my clothes and whatever. And they had like a testing day where they were paying folks to get tested. And I was like, oh, I need that little gift card to Walgreens so I can get my top ramen or whatever. And I was like, I might as well go do this, right? Like everything, it'll be easy. And I think it wasn't like a rapid test. It was like come back in a couple days and like get your results back. And when the lady tested me, she was kind of like giving me a rundown of like how at risk you can be by doing sex work and not using a condom, and also using substances along with it. And it freaked me out. And it was kind of like, it was like this weird sort of like thing, like everything just started falling on top of each other. And in that midst of that time of getting tested, like a person that I worked with, like a client of mine that was a regular, said that I may have been exposed to HIV. And so within those couple of days, I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. And it's just this like weird void and waiting area, like where you're just like, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And it just like, and I didn't like go back for those results like for weeks, because and in those weeks I was just frozen, and I didn't understand what was happening to like my mental health. And when I finally went back and everything came out negative, it was like I never wanted to feel that again. I never wanted to feel that sense of anxiety again, and that sense of like not knowing. So I just like, they had every Wednesday at Larkin, they had like the testing clinic, and every Wednesday I was going to be there anyways in the morning to like eat or wash my clothes. So I was just like, I'm just going to start doing it and like getting tested every Wednesday and like doing those things on a regular basis, so I don't have to feel like that again.
Great, thanks, Keanu. I'm curious, other than learning your status, are there other things that you learned or found out after you got HIV tested?
So for me, one of the things I found out was that I wasn't going to die right away, that it wasn't a death sentence. That was like the first thing. I think when they told me, like, I like blanked out, like, oh shit, I'm going to die. But I think I found out the information that I needed to know about HIV, rather than just hearing, like the ghost stories about HIV and seeing like the movies and knowing what happened when the epidemic first started. It really like ignited something in me for me to do my own research and really to like advocate. So that was one thing I learned. And then I also learned that
Janelle, I think you.
I think I will. Well, for me, I just one thing.
have that knowledge where they don't know if the medicine is going to interfere with their hormone therapy. And so that was something good to find out as well.
Thank you, Janelle. Tanya, did you have something?
Yeah, one thing that I found out that PrEP exists. I didn't know anything about PrEP, so thanks to that I did the testing, I found out my test was negative, and they say there's PrEP. That way you will be nervous next time. So there's PrEP, and another thing that I found out, like that she was saying, that even if it was positive, you're not gonna die. You have a healthy life if you just take the medication. So that's one of the two things that I found out. Once I had testing. So that's for me.
Great, thank you, Tanya. So I'm curious also, when you got tested for HIV the first time, were you open about it to your friends and the people in your life? And are you now? And how do you talk to the people that you care about in your life about getting tested?
uh, being now like getting tested more regularly, and like kind of making it a part of my routine. Before I worked for PHI and I had health insurance, I was part of that really big demographic that didn't have health insurance or just had Medi-Cal. And I was kind of doing it for me and for my community of folks that were also sex workers, just kind of going around the city in the Bay Area and figuring out where places we could get tested for free without like health insurance or with just Medi-Cal. So I was pretty open about it, because again, going back to that, and I don't want to keep going back to that, but in that community, there's the same people that work with all of us, right? Like one person will have the same client as another person and vice versa. So keeping ourselves healthy together was a big important part of my life, and also sharing that experience with other people, because we're all in community and we're all interconnected one way or another, whether that be mental health ways and physical. So I was pretty open about it. And now with the folks that I see every day, also being in that Tay age group, I want them to know that like it is out there and it's not a scary thing to go and do these things. So I'm pretty open about it to everyone. Yeah.
And I would say the same. I'm pretty open, the same as Keanu. I really try to use my experience and to encourage folks to get tested. I was diagnosed at 19, and I really feel like I may have had it when I was 18. And a lot of my family or friends or everything, like, I look healthy. I am healthy. I'm not a person who you would quote unquote think have HIV, but I do have it. And so I try to use my story just to empower the folks around me to get tested, because there's not always symptoms. And the reality is that we're living in a time now where folks are like much more open with their sexuality. And so we can be in these committed relationships. We can be the committed one, but our partners can be poly or doing other things. And so it's just always great to check yourself. And so I try to use that as an example.
Same as then too. I'm really open with it. I also like to encourage my friends, because as you guys already know, our Latinas, trans Latina communities are more vulnerable to HIV. So I'm always telling to go test it, and I mean I'm really open to it, even if they ask me, like I'm okay with it. So, and it's good to get encouraged to do the testing, because you never know. You just have to check, because you could find out, and have a healthy life. So yeah, so I'm very open.
JC?
Of course, like I'm being more open to my friends, because having getting tested is giving you that self-awareness about what HIV can do for you, and what does it can do for your health and also for the community. So for me, knowing that not only getting tested is also allowing yourself to become more knowledgeable about HIV, to how to protect yourself and to protect your partner, and of course like sharing that, being open more to your friends. It's become having that knowledge, it allows you to have more open conversation to your friends that, hey, HIV is getting tested, it's really important, and having that knowledge, you can also share that information to them.
Wonderful. Janelle, just real quickly, I know we had some connection issues and some people in the Facebook Live are asking for you to talk about what you were saying about hormone access in the last question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying that hormone access and HIV care, when I first was diagnosed, I didn't know if the HIV medication would interfere with my HRTs, which are the hormone care. And so I found out that it did not interfere. And so I was able to continue on with my HIV meds and still be able to take my hormones and it not affect the two.
Wonderful, thank you. So I'm kind of curious, for For people who are nervous about getting tested for HIV or hesitant, what would you tell them? You know, like what were you scared of? What was the reality? What words of wisdom would you give them to encourage them to walk through that door or to that testing site?
I would say, I think that's a really great question. First up, I think I would really like in today's time, how we're living in the times of COVID-19. I would really just empower folks that it's much more powerful to know your status than to not know your status. If you know your status, you can take all the necessary steps to get yourself well and make sure that you're not passing something on to your other sexual partners. And so I was scared. I think even with COVID-19, they have all of these drive-through testings and stuff that frontline workers and stuff can go through. And there's still a fear of knowing. But you have to get over that fear because you don't want to affect the people that are around you that you love. And so that's what I would say.
Thank you. JC?
And of course, you know, people that having that anxiety, because I work for the healthcare and have that experience, like talking about to the people or sometimes of my clients. So one thing that I have to address is like, why are they hesitant to get tested? So maybe they have having their anxiety or have this misinformation about getting tested and what is the HIV all about. So, and after that, hearing that answer from them, it allows me, what would be the right response from them. And also one thing is like giving maybe personal experience to myself. I don't have to share my whole personal experience, but something that they will motivate to get tested. That's really important.
One thing that someone told me when I was scared, I think it was like a couple years ago, is my gay mom. She had told me that that it's and it's kind of a rough way to say it, but sometimes folks need like a tough love sort of way of knowing it's kind of selfish for you to not get tested. It's selfish because you're only considering yourself, and like you're and not taking care of yourself, also not taking care of other people. So that's one thing that like I was kind of taught the harder way, was that it's kind of selfish not to get tested. You want to, you know, we're all in this together as a queer community, and like I said earlier, we're all interconnected in some way. And to keep us safe and to keep your loved ones safe, it's good to get tested.
And I will say the same thing, you know, not to be scared, just to go ahead and do it. Don't be nervous. Nothing's gonna happen. Whatever the result will be, it's just better to know. It's just better to know, and you know, you have to care about yourself, about your health, and about the others too. You know, your family, your wife, your girlfriend, your partner, whatever. You know, just go ahead and just do it. It's just better to know your status. So don't be scared. Just do it.
Thank you, everybody. So I have one more planned question, and then we're going to move into the Q&A. So for those of you who are watching on Facebook Live, now is the time to type in your questions for the panelists. We'll try to get to as many of them as possible. But before we go to that, so I want to know, what are you and your organization doing during this COVID-19 pandemic to stay connected and stay safe?
Yeah. So at the Public Health Institute, we have a couple trans programs that we work on and are funded for. One is Flourish. It's 18 and up trans women of color, and then the one that I specifically work on is Phoenix. It's 18 through 29, and then Shift is just the TAY demographic, which is 18 through 24. The Shift in Phoenix hold a online Zoom support group like we did with before the COVID-19 thing, every Wednesday from 6 to 7:30. So we're still doing that now. We're just sending out the Zoom links and the Zoom invites, and making sure that like we all stay connected during this time. And it's I'm pretty sure you just have to like click a link, and you don't have to like download anything, it'll just pop up. And we'll all be there, me and our other health educator Iris, and then our other health educator Mirza, facilitated every Wednesday. And we usually try to keep it uplifting and like fun. Like we'll do activities or like the first word that comes to your mind game or whatever. Like we don't focus on everything unless folks want to talk about that. It's more about what people want to talk about. We don't really hold topics. We just kind of let it go and make sure everyone's feeling safe and feeling together. Thank you.
Thank you, Keanu.
Ela para Trans Latina, we're calling our sister. We're calling our sister. All the stuff from Ela para Trans, we're calling our sister. We're sending a message. We're also doing Facebook Live workshops. And you know, that way we could be connected and everything. So we're doing those Facebook Live. They've been really good. Our sister, they're loving it. Their feedback that we're getting is so great. We also be telling it if they need anything, if they need support, to call us, to let us know. If they need someone to talk to, they could just call us and let us know, or send a text message or email or something, and we'll be there for them. Like we're Ela Paratas Latina. We're there for our sisters, so we're doing our best we can. Also, make sure tell them to take care of themselves, wash their hands, and I think it feels like we're all together. So I don't think it's been like we're gone, except that we're closed. Our doors are closed for now, but it's like it's been open because we've been talking. I think we'll be more connected than before, I would say, and it's been great. So that's what we're doing in this bad moments that we're having from COVID-19.
Thank you, Tanya. JC? Oh, you're still muted.
All right. So for my community, for USF Alliance Health Project, I'm very glad that we're still doing a Zoom call for our agency, and also we're still reaching out for our clients. We're doing a Zoom meetings. Also, we're in the prep navigation, continuing the prescription for our clients, which is really important. We're also able to reach out to our clients. So for that, Zoom call is really important nowadays, especially this stay from what do you call it? Now I'm kind of getting mental block, like stay from home. What is it most important in our clinic? Like we continue reaching out to each other on how are we doing, what can we do while working in home, like what are the most something that we can do for continue doing for our community. So for me, I would like to post this for if you need any more information, you can visit the UCSF alliancehealthproject.edu.com. alliancehealthproject at ucsf.edu. I'm so sorry about that. Thank you, guys.
All good, JC. Thank you. Janelle?
Yes, thank you. So the transgender district we're doing our best to respond to this pandemic we're in with our trans community. So maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had launched the COVID-19 relief fund. And initially the relief fund was to help 25 residents in the Tenderloin neighborhood. The transgender district is located in the Tenderloin neighborhood, for those of you who don't know. And so initially we were being radical in our approach and using money that we already had in the agency, being that our organization with the shelter in place and social distancing, we have to stay at home. And so a lot of our live events had to be canceled. And so when those events are canceled, you don't use that money. And so what better way than to respond to communities than to give them that money from an event that they probably would have benefited from. And so for so many folks out there who are doing their COVID relief funds and trying to find ways, sometimes just use the money that you have. We also have been trying to do virtual hangout spaces. And so the transgender district is in solidarity with Queen Culture, which is our executive director, Aria Saiz, her side project or her passion project outside of the district. And so there was a virtual hangout space happening there. We also did Bro Talk, which was our Trans Day of Visibility event, which was centering the voices of trans masculine folks. Bro Talk, the emergence of trans masculine voices. And we will have more events coming up virtually, just to give community something to do. For a lot of community, this social distancing is something that's normal for us. now the rest of you have to do it. And then for those of us who are used to going outside and socializing, we're finding new ways to hang out. And so it's really great that we're having these spaces virtually, even like this event here, where people can tune in from their homes and still feel like they're a part of community. And so we're trying to do more of those, and we're going to continue to do more of those. We also, hopefully y'all are following the Transgender District. We have our visual storytelling project. We've been launching videos here and there. We actually filmed the visual storytelling project when the shelter and when the social distancing first came about, and when they told us that we had to cancel events over 50 or more folks. And so we were able to, we still recorded our visual storytelling project, our first cohort. And so this time, now that we're not able to like really do anything, we're able to start releasing some of these videos of trans people in their lives, and so that folks can just hear their stories. A lot of time visual storytelling projects that are done with trans people in mind are always told from a cishet narrative, where it's like, when did you take your first hormone and how did you pick out your name and all that hoopla. And we just really want to tell our story so people can know that we're human, and so that you can relate to us with that human aspect. And so those are some of the things that we're going to be doing. Please look out. Our COVID-19 relief fund did close, but we have raised more money, and now we are we're going to open back our application process. We are just getting folks off of the waiting list. And so please check that out.
Awesome. It's really exciting to hear about all the work that everybody is doing to support the community. So there's a few questions in the Q&A. One of them is a pretty quick question, is who is a positive role model for you in your life?
I'll go. A positive role model for me in my life is, it's kind of a basic answer, but it's really true. I think everyone in the community that is, whether they're striving or just surviving, I think they're positive role models for me, because it takes so much to fight and survive. That's so much respect that I have to give those folks, and also the folks that have made it, that made it easy for me to be who I am, are very positive role models. I couldn't give you a name, but I think it's everyone out there just working their hardest to be themselves and working their hardest to be a good person.
I would say a positive role model for me is Black trans women. Black trans women are so resilient, and we overcome so much. And just to be in this space now, to see so many trans women are executive directors and leading this movement work is really inspiring to see. And so if I was to think, I would say trans women. All trans women are my role models.
Now I'm muted, excuse me. So another question is how can I support a friend who has internalized a lot of shame about their recent positive status?
That's a super good question. I think that's a really important question to talk about too. It was how to do it, or?
So if I can hop in there, the way I heard the question was, how can you support that friend who has?
How can you? Yeah.
I would say just supporting them the same way that you would want to get supported. You know, we are taught so many things, and like I know from speaking from experience, like being given an HIV diagnosis, and all of the stuff that I was taught about HIV and all of the stigma that comes along with it. There was nothing that really anybody could do. It was a process that I had to go through for myself, and the people that were around me that were supporting me. That's really all that I needed. I just needed somebody to be supportive for me, and to also be accountable to me, because during these moments of, you know, having all of this internalized trauma, there could be moments when I don't take my medication or I don't go to the doctor or I'm not doing all of those things. And so that's when I would look to these people who I have disclosed my status to support me. And so if I told you my HIV status, the goal is so that you can be accountable to me and go with me to my appointments, remind me to take my medicine, make sure that I have food, do those regular checkups, knowing that I'm in a depressed state.
Yeah, I was gonna say something similar to just I think just check in on them, and not in like a pushy way, not in like a anything that could be like triggering or like things like that. Just check in on folks and make sure that that person is doing okay, make sure that they're eating, make sure that they're drinking water, make sure that they're going, I mean, we can't go out places right now, but trying to get some sunlight, make sure that they're just at that moment being the best that they can be as a person, because they're probably a great person. And another thing that this happened to me recently, and something that I did that was very little, but it kind of shined a light on their day, is I looked up a bunch of I wouldn't say famous people, but role models in the community that were HIV positive, and I typed a list of them. And I sent them to that person. I just said, this is, all these people are positive and they're still doing great things and they're still living their lives. It was a little thing, but it meant a lot to that person at that time. So don't look over the little things that may help that person. That's how I would end that.
Great, thank you. So we have time for one more question, and we have some allies who have tuned in to listen to our live broadcast. And so they just want to know, how can they support the trans community best at this time?
Donate. Trans people. I'm sorry. I love when people ask, how can they support trans people? And there's so many different things that you can do to support trans people. If you know trans people who are homeless, if you have somewhere in your house that they can be able to sleep for a night or two, give them that space. If you can offer up a shower to a homeless trans person, if you can give a ride to a trans person. But there are so many COVID relief funds right now. Research them, donate to them. Another way is just to up yourself with the information that you need to be respectful and everything to folks. And so YouTubing things on how to be a better ally. But as a trans person, I would say donate. Money goes a long ways, and trans people are oftentimes not able to access those resources. And so, yes.
Yeah, and I'm agree with Chanel. Just like she said, I think donate is one of the most things that we need right now, because we need food. We need food on the table. There's no food, and able to get the food, we need money, because a lot of places they're closed, or a lot of places they don't have enough food. So we need the money. Sometimes we have to do big lines to get money. There's no Uber. There's nothing going. There's nothing outside. So it's really tough for us to get food on the table. So I think that would be one of the things that we could get support with food, with money. Donate. Yeah, make sure you guys go to whatever you see sites where you could do your donation. But yeah, let's get the money, because that's what we need right now. I mean, it's hard to say, but it is what it is. We need food and we need money. So I think donate is one of the best things they can do to support us.
All right, thank you, Tanya, and thank you, Janelle. I think that's really powerful information about how we're gonna help our trans community. But not only that, also be empathic and be more compassionate. And what do they need? Something that, because we are all in hormones, so we're hormonal. So make sure we become more empathic on how they feel and more compassionate. And of course, the donation is really important for the trans community, and show them give them resources. It's really important, especially now in San Francisco. We have so much resources for transgender community. I think feed them up those information will really help them as a transgender woman.
Yeah, just to what was I to copy or parrot whatever everyone else was saying. Donate. If you don't have the funds to donate, if you're not there yet, donate a home cooked meal, donate hygiene, donate like Janelle was saying, donate your space if you have a space for them. donate your time to looking into what you can help them for. If you don't have the money, you can donate your time into doing the work for them, because oftentimes trans people and queer people are always doing the work. And sometimes it's, not sometimes, a lot of the times, I think cis and allies people can do the work for, they can do the research, they can do the work, they can try to figure out what we need. It's all like a Google or YouTube away. So
Thank you all so much. We're out of time for tonight's event, so I just want to say a big thank you to our panelists, Janelle, JC, Tanya, Keanu, and then all of you that tuned in. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the event. I also want to thank my San Francisco Community Health Center team, because I know you all been working hard behind the scenes to make this happen. And just like everybody else, our organization is doing a lot of work to try to keep people safe and connected during this time too. So we're offering for trans and gender nonconforming clients on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. You can come and pick up a meal at 730 Polk Street. But we're also doing a whole bunch of different Zoom groups, and you can go to our website and check those out. We've also started a video series talking about all sorts of different topics, trying to keep people engaged. So with that, thank you very much for your time. Thank you, panelists, again, and I will turn it over to our host, Rents.
Thank you, Nico, and to all our panelists. Thank you so much for that wealth of information, experience, and just being relatable to our community members and even to our allies. Thank you so much for being such inspiration. So moving on, we are actually going to watch another digital story from SF Team. And if you have loved this Facebook live stream, remember that it is in collaboration with SF Team as part of the Dish It series. So we will be coming out with more series like this in collaboration with them. And also we would be logging on to our website at sfcommunityhealth.org for many more. You can actually log in to our main website at sfcommunityhealth.org for more information on those. So we know that times are tough, and due to COVID-19, everything's just been challenging, as explained by all of our panelists. We want to be there for you, and you don't have to feel you're going through this alone. Together, we can get through this difficult time, and if you ever need reminding that you have someone to just share all your feelings and all your fears over this uncertainty, please just type in #shelter-in-place hearts together, and you will be able to find all of our videos, SF Community Health Center's videos about how to take care of yourself during this time, how to better take care of your emotional health and your relationships during this time of need. So please don't hesitate to also reach out to all of us in San Francisco Community Health Center. We're available still, and we're very much happy to just provide our services. So thank you. And in closing this event, we have one last video, like I mentioned, again from our friends over at SF Team. So our second digital story is entitled Sophia. Sorry, I got the title wrong. It's by Sophia, and it's titled Sonando mi Realidad, Dreaming My Reality. Sophia's journey as a trans woman was a challenging one, and Sophia encountered many obstacles, such as escaping from her grown environment because she was not allowed to live her authentic life. And in searching for validity and acceptance as a trans woman, she fell for someone who later she had forsaken her safety and wellness. She emulates in her story the one factor that she thought she couldn't escape, But through her own will, she escaped and turned that energy to love, to more love that she had given for herself, and also the quest for safety and wellness. So I invite you all to keep tuning in, and let's take a look at her video.
Desde pequeña supe que era una mujer diferente, claro, en el cuerpo que no elegí. Crecí, viví así sin decírselo a mis padres, pues tuve pena y vergüenza. Mi madre me pedía comportarme como hombre, pero ¿cómo? Si yo soy una mujer. Crecí, tuve que aguantar todo lo que pasaba. Nadie podía ayudarme ni entenderme. Me fui de México. Sabía que mi libertad estaba fuera de ahí. ¿Cuál fue mi sorpresa? Me aclararon que aquí debía olvidar esa manera amanerada de vivir, que ya era tiempo de ser el hombre que Dios había enviado. Nuevamente me encaraba a mi realidad. Me había seguido. No me importó. Estaba lejos. Lejos de los que me habían hecho daño. Mientras buscaba el amor que me hacía falta, caía en el sexo que llenaba mis ansias de ser amada. Eran momentos donde me sentí la mujer más enamorada del universo. Mis mentiras me llenaban. Un día llegó aquel que me dio confianza y el amor que buscaba. Era el mundo perfecto que soñé. Di todo sin sentir que me desarmaba toda. Probé miel. Me entregué sin importarme nada. Él me había inyectado aliento suyo hasta adueñarse de mí. Me vi atrapada. Reaccioné. Era demasiado tarde. Su veneno crecía en mí. Me di cuenta. Quise huir muchas veces. Y él me acorraló tantas veces hasta casi matarme. Quiso matarme al saber que quería huir. Me di cuenta de todo. Ya estaba atada a una parte de él. Caí, tropecé, hasta que encontré la salida. Pude irme y encontrarme otra vez. Creí que sería demasiado tarde para comenzar una vez más. Pero no. Cuando tropecé, lo hice yo misma. Ahora era el momento de volar. Ese momento nunca llega tarde. Siempre llega cuando de veras se quiere. Y aquí estoy, ahora, lista para sobrepasar cualquier otra batalla. Porque ahora tengo la fuerza para salir. Aprendí a quererme a mí misma.
All right. Thank you, Sophia, and thank you, SF team. If you're interested to know more and be part of SF Transgender Empowerment Advocacy Mentorship Program or SF team, please email sfteam@sfcommunityhealth.org. And I would like now to thank Nico for moderating, our panelists, Tanya, JC, and Keanu, and also our special guest, Janelle, and all who took time to be part of this panel discussion. A special thank you to Juan and Perla for translating this live stream in real time for all our Spanish speaking audience. And our deepest thank you to all our community partners and everyone involved in the planning, promoting, and viewing of this live stream. In commemoration again of National Transgender HIV Testing Day, and on behalf of San Francisco Community Health Center, thank you for tuning and staying in. Stay safe and have a wonderful evening.